Hi everyone, welcome to Salesforce Topics channel. In this session, let us discuss few more trigger examples and how to identify which trigger event is apt for these examples and the implementation part of these examples. Here we are taking two requirements. If an user changes the service request from free service to paid service, then comments field is mandatory. For example, this service request is a free service because this checkbox is checked, and if user unchecks this one, that means if he is changing from free service to paid service, in that case on click of save we have to make sure that user has to enter the comments. That means comments is mandatory whenever user changing the service request from free service to paid service. As user is changing the value of this field on the already existing record, on click of save it performs the update DML operation. Now the second requirement is on completion of vehicle service, notify the owner of the vehicle with an email. That means if the status of the service request is reached to the completed status, then on save we have to notify the owner of the vehicle, that is to this email ID we have to send an email. In this requirement also, user is performing the update on this field. So the DML is going to be update DML. Since both these requirements are related to the update DML, the remaining trigger events we can filter out. Only before update and after updates are there now. Now let us see which trigger event matches for these requirements. For the first requirement, if you see user is changing from free service to paid service, and in that case comments is mandatory. That means we are updating the comments field of the service request. For this requirement we can't take after update, because in the after update we get new and new map in a read only, and we cannot modify the comment field for this record. Moreover, it has been already saved prior to this step. For this requirement, before update trigger event perfectly suits, because we have to update the comments field, and if we update the comments field in this step, it will take into the next save operation and then commit step. So for the first requirement, the perfect match is before update. Now for the second requirement, if you see, on completion of service request, we have to notify the user with an email. For this example, we cannot take the before update, because on change of the status to the complete, if you send an email over here, there may be chances that while saving this record, there could be some errors. But if you take the after update trigger event, then in this case, we can send an email after saving of that record. So for this second requirement, the perfect trigger event is after update. Now let us implement the first requirement. I'm adding the before update event to our trigger class, and whenever system finds the before update trigger event, we are going to implement our logic. So operation type is going to be before underscore update. So I'm writing the block before underscore update, so that this particular block will get executed for the before update event. As like earlier, we are going to take another method in the same handler. In this handler, I am going to write one more method to handle the updates. Handle service request updates. We will see what are all the parameters that we can pass here. Let me save it and call from our trigger class. Now let us see the list of context variable values that we get for the before update. Here I am going to edit this record, and I am going to uncheck this free service so that it will become as a paid service. And here I am not entering the comments and we have not implemented our requirement yet. And I'm clicking on save to see the trigger context variables. And in the logs, if you see, for the before update trigger context variables have been printed. And if you see, these are all the 4 important variables. The main thing that we have changed here is free service flag. In the new, if you see, the free service flag should be false. And in the old values, if you see, the free service flag is true, because we made a change from true to false. Now let me pass these 4 variables from our trigger class to handler. Trigger.new, trigger.new map, then trigger.old, and trigger.old map. Let me add the parameters to the handler method. That is, the first variable is the list of service requests. So we get there all the updated service requests. And the next one is new map. So map of ID, service request objects. So I'm taking it into the variable updated SR's map. In the same way, to capture the old values, service request old values. In the same way, map, I'm taking it as service request map with old values. Now we have to iterate each updated service request, and we have to check the free service field of the service request. If it is changed from checked to unchecked, then in that case we need to make sure the comments have been entered by the user. For this, let me iterate this updated SRs, and I'm going to iterate this value. For each updated record, we need to check the free service field. We can get the newly updated value on the free service flag from this object. That is, this we will get the new value that is being selected. But how can we get the old value? As we know, the old values are present in the old list and old map. Right now, as we have a newly updated service request ID, if I pass that ID to this map, we can get the corresponding record, and from there we can get the old value of the free service. Let me show you that how I am going to get the old value. The service flag map dot get of ID. I am going to send ID, the corresponding ID, we have it in updated source ID. Using this, you will get the service request object, the old values. With this, you can get the old value of free service flag. Now we have the new value and old value. We can add the condition like this: if old value of the service flag is true, new value, if the user is making it as false, that means he is changing from checked to unchecked. In that case, we need to check the comments field in the newly updated service request, and if it is blank, then we should add an error. String dot is blank of updated sr dot comments. So if these comments are not entered by the user in the newly updated service request object, we need to log him to update this SR. So I am adding an error, a message, comments are mandatory. Can you change free service to paid service? And let me deploy this code. And also we are making use of this method in this trigger, so let me deploy this as we have added this line newly. Now we have deployed our code. Let's go and edit this field from free service to paid service, and if I try to click on save, it should give an error. It's giving an error for the update operation. And if we enter the comments, then it will allow us to change that. With this, we have implemented the first requirement. For the second requirement, that is on completion of service request, we have to notify the user with an email. For that, we have seen that it is better to implement an after update trigger event. So let me add after update trigger event and its corresponding block, that is when after update. Over here we have to notify the user when the service request status is reached to complete. So let me create one more method in the trigger handler. Notify owner on completion. In this after update event also we will get these 4 parameters. For more details how Salesforce is populating these trigger context variables, please watch my first session. Now if newly updated service request status is completed, in that case we need to send an email. Let me iterate the updated values. Updated SR, and here updated SRs, and if the updated SRs status is completed, is service underscore status is updated as complete, then we have to send an email to the owner. As we know, we have already this logic, so I'm copy pasting it. The email ID is going to come from here, update SR, and this method takes care of the sending an email. Here the subject is going to be service request has been completed, and we will send the body as your service request is completed and the bill amount is, let me add the bill amount from this service request object, that is updated service request record, bill underscore underscore amount, bill underscore amount field, and let me deploy this code. We have to call this method from our trigger. So let's take this, call this method by passing again the 4 values. Like earlier we have passed the 4 values. Same 4 values, new map, old map. And let me deploy this code. Now let me update the service request status from in progress to complete, and it has the bill amount as 2500, and let me save, and owner should have been notified with an email. Yes, he got one email. Let me open it, and if you observe the body whichever we have entered there, that information is coming here. Thanks for watching. We will meet in the next session.